What was the most legendary thing a student did at school? They found out the password for the high school's website and edited all sorts of things. Whether it was exposing certain faculty for being scummy creepy by rewriting their bias or changing the campus security and safety tab to snitches get stitches, it made quite the buzz for years to come, and as far as I know, they never got caught. Someone at my school found out the Wi-Fi password so we could all have free Wi-Fi. Piano in the middle of the theater stage. Unattended high school seniors wandering around during study hall. One of the students sits down and starts banging on the keys and screaming random lyrics. The rest of us are sitting in the seats. While he's banging away, the side stage door opens and the principal is standing there. Obviously had heard the ruckus and came to investigate. The student on the piano has their back to the principal and doesn't notice. We are rolling with laughter as he continues to make up ridiculous lyrics and mash the keys, unaware. He stops to admire his fans and the principal clears her throat. He turns around to see her. He slowly turns back to the piano, closes the rack over the keys, expression unchanged. He calmly gets up and walks to the stage door opposite of the principal and exits the stage. Minutes go by as we are dying with laughter and the principal is still just standing there assessing. Then, the same student appears in the sound booth behind us, having gone under the stage, now wearing a woman's dress and wig that he had found in the changing rooms. He throws open the window and shouts down, "Miss Thompson." I heard a ruckus and came running to see what was afoot. The principal just laughed and exited stage right. We only had like a week left and she didn't care. My friend once was pee off at the rest of us guys, 5 of us. He chased us into the bathroom because he wanted to be a tough guy and thought one of us was hiding in a stall. He says "Peekaboo, I see you," and kicks the stall door in on a teacher we all knew, taking a crap. The teacher said, "I see you too, Nathan. Now close the door. I will die the day I forget about that, lol." The teacher's response was legendary. Maybe not legendary, but an interesting and funny experiment. There were 3 high schools in my hometown. 2 of them, both named after famous historical figures of said town, were in a sort of rivalry with each other. Nothing serious, but the students would casually trash talk the other school a lot, mostly in good fun. Each school had a display case with a bust of their respective historical namesakes somewhere in the building. They were just some decoration object that you would pass by every single day and pay little attention to. So we figured we'd test how little attention people actually paid these things. So one night, a few buddies of mine and I got together. Most of us were from my school, but we had a few inside men from the other one as well. We split up into 2 teams, got access to both buildings simultaneously, picked open the very cheap locks on the display cases, grabbed the busts and switched them. And keep in mind, these schools were not that close to one another, and none of us had been old enough to drive at that point, so we had to carry these freaking limestone busts through half the town. We then locked the busts into the display cases again and left. We had managed completely non-destructive entry to both schools, so nobody ever found out. It took almost an entire school year for anyone to notice. To this day, no teacher has ever found out who was responsible, but no damage was done, so they didn't try too hard to figure it out. This is most certainly legendary. This kid in my class put the school for sale on Craigslist. He provided the school's attendance office number as a point of contact because everyone hated the receptionist there. They were getting calls from interested buyers for days who wanted to buy multiple acres of property with a big swimming pool and a track. Some kids put up Craigslist ads for free brand new TVs with my school's number listed as the contact, and they received thousands of calls by like 10 AM. It was legendary. This kid once brought a backpack full, and I mean completely full, of marbles to school. He went to the main staircase near the front up the 3rd floor and dumped the whole bag over the stairwell. How those marbles didn't break the glass trophy case at the bottom is beyond me, but marbles went everywhere. Surprisingly, he never got caught. He either managed to run to one of the stairwells at the end of the hall and get to the bottom before teachers had time to react, or he hid somewhere until the first bell rang. There was this guy who was almost universally liked in my high school. Did everything. AP classes, theater, football, track. His grades were good, but he wasn't the valedictorian. That didn't stop him from getting up during the graduation ceremony and giving a speech like there was nothing strange about it, and they let him finish. 2. That must be planned. A kid hit the fire alarm when the mayor was visiting our school. For context, we had an assembly the week before where we were specifically told not to hit the fire alarm during the mayor's visit unless there was an actual fire, as it was a common occurrence at our school to just hit the fire alarm whenever. One of my friends brought in a universal remote and tuned it to the TV in the lunch hall. This TV's original remote had long since been lost, so he had the only one. Instead of the news during lunch, he would change it to sitcoms, etc. The teachers were pretty clueless and kept flicking through dozens of channels only for him to immediately change back. They even started turning it off. He just turned it back on again. About a month of this and the teachers finally gave up. Nobody except our immediate friend group knew it was him doing this, but the entire school had whispers about this mystery man for ending the scourge that was the news channel. Teacher tries to open the door. It does not move. Teacher says he'll ask the maintenance dudes to help open it. While he's away, dude tries to force the door open. Instead falls through the door, as he just creates a hole. Doing so, it does however open the door. Teacher comes back without maintenance guy. Teacher blanks for a moment, then says thanks for opening the door. I'll need to know who to thank. No one answers, but only one dude has pieces of wood in his hair, so he got caught. Mess with the bull, and you'll get the horns. I honestly thought that's where it was going. Not mine, but someone superglue the computer mouses, to the desks in the computer lab. It was my son. My son did that. He never got caught, just told me long after the fact. I love getting to tell my mom these stories now that I'm an adult. You remember that time? Well, this is what actually happened, haha. Our grading system is 1, fail, 2, pass, 3, 4, 5, great. One dude stole the diary book where all the grades are written for all students in class. He was failing a lot of stuff, so everybody just presumed he would throw it away or change one S into 2S. He just changed all 3 into hearts and returned it. Madman. Don't really know what happened to him after that. I think he just got some sort of warning but wasn't expelled. My grading system is reversed LMAO. 1 best, 5 worst. It was legendarily stupid. We had mandatory swimming classes in my sophomore year of high school. Anyways, 3 days a week. The school was getting bomb threats and all of us would have to leave class and go to the gym. The threats always happened at the same time. This went on for weeks and weeks. It turns out there was this kid who didn't want to swim and who was using a payphone down the block to call in the threats. This was 1985. He goes suspended for 2 weeks and had to take gym for summer school. He is a legend to this day, yet I can't remember his name. Suspended for 2 weeks and had to take gym for summer school. This is how you know times have changed. Pull that crap nowadays. You'll be lucky if you're not arrested. Picked up the front end of the tractor, deadlift style, with the teacher sitting in the driver's seat of the tractor. The tractor was part of the ag department. It was a rural school. We had 2 pretty epic senior pranks in my HS days. The first was somebody replaced the tape of the morning announcements with a close-up of a hardcore anal pee scene. At first I thought maybe my homeroom teacher was a perv, but turns out it was broadcast throughout the school. Then my senior year a fellow student got the bright idea to dress up as a gorilla and go up on the roof of the school with a bag of bananas. The SWAT team was called in and it was kinda scary seeing guys with assault rifles outside our classroom window. Then someone told me it was just so and so on the roof in a gorilla costume. He got in a lot of trouble considering he was 18 at the time. Teacher everyone hated just cause he was a pure bully. We had a fair snowfall and he was on yard patrol. This shy kid launched the perfect snowball 40 FT plus and it went in his cup of juice, splashing out and soaking him. Kid went from 0 to hero real quick. Kid is going places. The senior prank one year was hiring a mariachi band to follow our principal around all day. He loved it, went classroom to classroom so everyone could see it and take pictures, videos and have a fun break from class. Kid broke into the PA speaker room or whatever it's called, locked himself in and started publicly dismissing everyone's future detention sentences one by one. Then he started to just burp in the mic before we heard the teachers and the principal breaking out. The principal shouted, "You dang." Then it got cut off. Dismissing everyone future detention sentences one by one. Hey, I just wanted you to know that you can't just say the word bankruptcy and expect anything to happen. I didn't say it, I declared it. My English teacher was close to retirement and had really poor eyesight. A mate started the lesson on the right side of the classroom and managed to shuffle both himself and his desk to the back of the room and then over to the left and over to the. He then managed to climb through the window, sauntered round the building, came back into the room and apologized for being late. Not even to leave, just to see if he could. A few years after I graduated, the school was preparing to take their assessment tests, which rate the schools. Many people think these tests are a waste of time, but they are important to school administrators. So, the principal orders that some classes are interrupted, in order to make sure that all the kids have refreshers in some basic math and writing skills. A few kids in a US history honors class were angry. They resented the interruption, as the classes were preparing them for an independent AP exam that awarded college credit. In response, they decided to intentionally sabotage the assessment tests. Our school was in an upper middle class area, and regularly scored in low 90s, the top 10%. Then, suddenly, the school suddenly scored in the mid-low 80s. Turns out that 15-20 students out of 300 turning in absolute zeros can impact an average score. School administrators went berserk. Stories were circulated. Students were threatened. But nothing came of it. The students never confessed. The tests were anonymous. The school rules didn't forbid poor performance. It helped that the students were led by kids whose parents were well trained in protesting during the 1960s. Was a great scene. I agree. What a great scene. Cut off his thumb in wood shop, and they couldn't find the thumb. It surfaced weeks later in the shop. Months later I found myself sitting next to the wood shop instructor at dinner on a field trip and got to hear the entire saga in full gory detail. While trying to eat dinner, I would keep the thumb and make it into a necklace and then give to him as like a present. In high school, two seniors who had been buds since forever got into a fight in the hallway in between class periods. What makes it legendary is that they first met in Taekwondo class when they were in kindergarten. Movies just show the performative aspect of martial arts. This was just. They were doing flying kicks at each other. It was so brutal, the teachers didn't dare to break them up. They only stopped because they got tired from beating each other senseless. Group hot in the lunchroom planters. Several guys got a VW Beetle on the roof above main entrance one night. Created a fake student that was elected homecoming king. This was not discovered by the faculty for 3 months. Post update. Could not remember the fake student name but pinged an old classmate. It was Elmo Dudley. Dumb teachers. Made the local news. What a riot. This is legendary in a bad way. One girl from my wife's high school stole a male teacher's pen drive. Found a video of him jacking off on the couch with 2 other guys also jacking off, and sent it around to the whole school. This was in a fairly conservative place and he was not openly gay. He didn't get fired or anything, but she says that he was a really nice fun teacher up until that point and afterwards was dry and grumpy to most of the students. On the one hand, you probably shouldn't bring a file of your amateur P to your job at the high school. On the other hand, what the student did was harmful and illegal on many different levels. A guy I was friends with hid 26 iceberg lettuces around college. As far as he was aware, only 9 were found. Places included urinals, lockers, behind books on shelves, balanced on banisters and behind lights. It became a full-scale witch hunt for these lettuces. He probably only hid 9 but said there were 26 so people would keep looking. I don't think the person who did it was ever caught, but during my junior year of high school, someone snuck in chickens. So there were a couple dozen chickens just roaming the halls and all the teachers were panicking. For some reason, the faculty treated them like rabid dogs. There's nothing funnier than seeing little roadblocks set up around a chicken and 4 teachers all red-faced and pulling their own hair. I bet their fav show is OITNB. We had an English teacher in training with poor classroom management skills. She understood little of what was going on in front of her. To prove that point, a friend of mine jumped from a classroom window. It was a good 6 feet to the ground, mid-class, and then casually walked through the schoolyard, back into the school and then came back into the classroom. He told the teacher that he had gone to the bathroom. She nodded and just kept on with her lesson. We had a teacher like that. It was to the point that even the slackers were on board with reminding them to stop telling another story and well, teach, as the tests she used were already prepared and would be random stuff we wouldn't know was coming. He threw a big fucking firecracker near her outlet. Then when the teacher asked what happened, he said that the outlet blew up. The teacher believed him. For senior prank, a group of kids dressed up in all black with masks. They ran down the main hall of the school with industrial buckets of cheap vegetable oil, pouring it everywhere. I mean everywhere, right before the bell rang for passing period. Kids were slipping and falling all over the place, spreading the oil even further throughout the school. It was so bad they ended up sending everyone home so they could clean up the mess. The school did an investigation, pulling camera footage from campus and interviewing students. Of course, the kids were bragging to friends about their accomplishments, so the suspects were pulled into the office. They didn't even need to interrogate them. They knew they all did it. How? They were all wearing the exact same shoes when they pulled it off. They were suspended for 5 days. School was pretty cool with the whole thing. Happened at my school. Baby oil though. Teacher fell and broke a hip. Someone bought a dead pig and left its parts in several people's car in the middle of summer. No one knew who did it, but each of the targets were notorious bullies, and so many of us found it to be great justice. A boy in my year did ketamine before our politics exam and got an A? Drugs, man. A special needs kid got a 2-day in-school suspension because he threw a sharpened pencil into the drop ceiling tile. He saw a friend of mine do it and thought it was the coolest thing ever. A kid on the football team heard about what had happened and protested the suspension directly to the assistant principal. The bus principal stuck firm to his decision and threatened, and if anyone else gets caught, it will be out of school suspensions. The following Monday, the entire second floor was closed down for the morning. Come to find out, the kid in the football team got into the school over the weekend and just blanketed the entire second floor ceiling with sharpened pencils. The video of it was stellar. I still have no clue who did it, but someone went around spraying mace or pepper spray or something into the ventilation shafts during lunch. My school had 2 lunch periods to accommodate our population. The first time was in the second lunch period, during which I had class. I was walking in the stairwells to class when I started coughing, along with a lot of others. It felt like I'd swallowed sawdust. I was near the science labs, so I thought it might have been a chemical reaction gone wrong. The next day during lunch, the upper forum was completely deserted. As I was going upstairs, my friends and I started noticing we felt the same, like there was sawdust in our throats. When we opened the door off the stairwell to the forum, the effect increased tenfold and a teacher ushered us back into the stairwell. We'd barely gotten to class when the entire school was evacuated. If the culprit was ever found, I never heard about it, and word spreads fast, so I'm guessing they got away with it. To the culprit, frick you for the throat pain, but thanks for the 15-minute evacuation so I didn't have to go to science class. This is how it feels to smell cheap Axe body spray. The senior class ahead of me pulled their prank on the day they were all gone on their last field trip. They all bought different alarm clocks and set them to go off at the same time, then zip-tied their lockers shut. It was absolute mayhem while the poor janitor and teachers were cutting them open. Had a friend, Will, who didn't finish an English assignment on time. As punishment, the teacher asked him to look up the definition of and write a 5-page essay on the need for diligence. When he opened the dictionary, the first definition was careful and persistent work and effort. The second definition was a public stagecoach. Will proceeded to write a tremendous 5-pager on the need, or lack thereof, of public stagecoaches. Not my high school, but our sister school. The seniors decided to put a dead deer in the cafeteria ceiling as a senior prank. Still not 100% sure why they thought this was a good idea. Crap would have went 100 to 200 real quick if he played Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer when everyone went to go eat. I went to high school in the early 70s. Our city had just implemented the desegregation of the high schools by closing the only black high school and busing those kids all over the city to the white high schools. Racial tensions were pretty high at my school. Many of the white kids resented having to go to school with black kids, and the black kids were understandably upset at being yanked out of their own high school and bussed. It was lunchtime in the cafeteria. I was sitting at the next table over from where a white guy was sitting. I see a black guy walking up to the white kid. He stops in front of the white kid and say hey. Honky, the white guy says hey, N. The whole room got real quiet. I could see kids looking around, trying to decide what to do and where to run or hide. The expectation being that there was about to be a fight. Then both the black guy and white guy bust out laughing and hug each other. The black guy sits down and they eat lunch together. People looked so confused as they couldn't comprehend what just happened. It turns out both guys were in drama class together and had decided to troll everyone. That's pretty wholesome. And they probably diffused a ton of tension in the air by showing everyone else that it was fine to mingle with each other. Hope they're still rocking strong. During our sats, heard wheels coming down the hallway. Look up to see out the window by the classroom door and a kid from the grade below me was riding a skateboard down the hallway with a bong in hand, smoking it. Not students, but the senior class made the national news way back when I still in kindergarten. Senior prank, they bought 2 Madagascar hissing cockroaches and bred them. End of the year comes. I believe they smeared meat all over the halls, then released the roaches. Needless to say, the high school was closed for a bit. One of the people in that class is now my step-sibling. A little foggy on the details, but a few stink bombs went off at the same time in 3 separate parts of the building, but no one was ever caught or punished for it. Then they searched everyone before graduation that year to make sure it didn't happen again. I wonder though if it was something more like liquid butt or fart in a can, cause the school was convinced it was stink bombs but they never found evidence of them. Long ago, during my senior year, we had an advanced chemistry class, so only like 13 students. It was a test day, so we had a plan. Our valedictorian asks to go to the bathroom before the test. He leaves and sprints to the payphones. Long ago, next to the cafeteria, and calls the office. Says he is a police officer and needs to speak with our teacher immediately. The office calls him to the phone and he leaves the room. The rest of us bust out a grocery store birthday cake, put up birthday decorations and balloons, pass out party hats, the whole 9 yards. Teacher gets to the office. The val says blah, 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 Mickey Mouse, and hangs up. And sprints back to the class. Teach gets back and we start singing happy birthday. He was like, but it's not my birthday. Needless to say, we had our cake and ate it. Test was postponed until the next week. I really want to call bulls on this, but I also really want to believe that this happened. When I was a student teacher, some quiet kid was getting crap from a bully for like a week. So he waited till they were in music class and the bully was on the piano facing the wall, then very deliberately picked up a guitar, stalked across the room, and smashed it to pieces against the bully's head. All of this was caught on CCTV. That was one video that definitely got circulated among the faculty. Friends of mine during senior year wrote in the snow from us to you. A big frick you. It was legendary for 3 reasons. 1. The field was directly in front of the giant window on the main stairs, visible from the ground level and upper level. Each letter was about 10x 4 feet. 2. The principal knew it was our group of friends but not which ones and never found out. 3. The message was impeccably well written. The principal complimented us on that, which is additionally incredible considering how drunk they were when it was written. Cypress Creek High School class of 07. Senior prank. All the seniors brought the picnic tables out of the cafeteria area and stacked them up into a pyramid in the outdoor amphitheater, and then brought chickens to school and let them loose. Mayo, I remember this one. Threw a bully through a window and single-handedly ended zero tolerance on fighting in my school. I quote, "If I'm getting suspended for fighting, I'm going to make it worth my while." I mean, yep, if you will be punished even if you stay in the fetal position not fighting back, then you might as well fight as hard as you ever have in your life so that your bully strongly thinks twice before fricking with you again. School just decided to give everyone iPads after a few years of letting physics class use them as their textbooks. At lunch everyone turned on Airdropped to share memes, which they weren't supposed to do. However, the teachers let it slide and figure it isn't worth punishing since everyone does it and nothing super inappropriate has been found yet. Drugs, pee, etc. One kid in my younger sibling's class airdropped a meme about being the principal that wasn't inappropriate and used a photo of him when he was a math teacher earlier in his career. He found it on some archive page on the internet. From what I recall, the text used was more looking for laughs about how he used to teach math and now is the principal. Basically just some dumb thing that staff would have laughed off after telling him not to use school stuff in airdropped memes. The kid who did this had never acted out in school. The worst he probably did was forget an assignment or two. He got detention for a whole week. The principal has a complex. No other student has gotten in as much trouble for airdropping things at the school. A kid getting detention for airdropping a meme about the principal from his school-issued iPad. Now I feel really old. If you are new to the channel, you can subscribe. I publish new videos every day. Until then, check another video. Bye for now.